Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to our special Bookaccino Live Summer Preview Evening program. And we're going to be showing you books that come out between June 24th and September 2nd. And yes, we're taking a little bit of license here of what summer is and we're stopping on the 2nd, simply because there's a lot more that we can show you for the rest of the month of September, and we'll do that with our fall preview. So just so you know, we're not crazy that we think that summer ends on September 2nd, but it's the day after, Labor Day, so we're figuring we can get away with it. So let's get started, and let me pull off we're going to start with fiction. Okay, the first book up is An Accidental Favorite by Fran Littlewood, and it's on sale on June 24th. So Vivian and Patrick Fisher have done an excellent job raising their three daughters. They're well-adjusted women with impressive careers, caring partners, exciting hobbies, and sweet children. So it's with great anticipation that three generations of Fishers gather at a beautiful glass house in the English countryside for a week-long celebration of Vivian's 70th birthday. But when Patrick's reaction to a freak accident on the first day of the trip inadvertently reveals that he has a favorite daughter, no one's prepared for the shockwaves it sends through the family. Decades-old unresolved sibling rivalries are suddenly unmasked, and be it newly uncovered smoking habits, ancient crushes, or private doubts about life decisions, both big and small, no one's secrets are safe. And Fran, you may remember as the New York Times bestselling author of Amazing Grace Adams, which came out a couple of years ago. So there we've got The Accidental Favorite. Next, we've got The Girls Who Grew Big by Lila Motley, on sale on June 24th. Adela Woods is 16 years old and pregnant. Her parents banish her from her comfortable upbringing in Indiana to her grandmother's home in the small town of Typewriter Beach, Florida. When she arrives, Adela meets Emery, who brings her newborn to high school, determined to graduate despite the odds. Simone, the mother of four-year-old twins, who weighs her options when she finds herself pregnant again, and the rest of the girls, a group of outcast young moms who raise their growing brood in the back of Simone's red truck. The town think the girls have lost their way, but really they're finding it, looking for love, making and breaking friendships, and navigating the miracle of motherhood and the paradox of girlhood. And this is by the best-selling author of Nightcrawling. Next, we've got I'll Be Right Here by Amy Bloom. It's on sale also on June 24th. Immigrating alone from Paris to New York after the crucible of World War II, young Gonzala becomes friends with two spirited sisters, Anne and Alma. When Gonzala lost beloved brother, Samir, joins her in Manhattan, this contentious, inseparable foursome makes their way into the 21st century, becoming the beating heart of a multi-generational found family. The passing years are marked by the business of everyday existence and the inevitable surprises of erupting passions, a great and small waves of joy and despair, from the beginning of life to its end. Through it all, amid the tumult of these decades, the four friends and their best beloveds stand by one another, protecting, annoying, and celebrating themselves, steadfastly unapologetic about their desires and the unorthodox family that they have created. That's a really pretty cover. Those blueberries look gorgeous. Next, we've got The Satisfaction Cafe by Kathy Wang, on sale July 1st. Joan Liang's life is a series of surprising developments. She never thought she would leave Taiwan for California, nor did she expect her first marriage to implode, especially as quickly and spectacularly as it did. She definitely did not expect to fall in love with an older, wealthy American and become his fourth wife and mother to his youngest children. Through all of this, she wrestles with one persistent question. Does she ever feel satisfied? As Joan and her children grow older and their circumstances evolved, she makes a drastic change and opens the Satisfaction Cafe, a place where people can visit for a bit of conversation and to be heard and understood. And through this radical yet pragmatic business, Joan constructs a lasting legacy. So there's the book from Kathy Wang. Next, we've got Spectacular Things from Beck Dory Stein. coming on July 1st. And this was one of our book group speed dating titles. If you see this down in the bottom of one of the slides, what that means is last week we did our book group speed dating event, and we had publishers select books that over the next 6 months they thought would be perfect for book group reading, and this is one of them. So when you see that on slides, that's what it means. Mia and Cricket have always been close. The gifted daughters of a young single mother, the Low Girls are well known in the small Maine town they call home. The responsible and academically minded Mia assumes the position of caregiver, far too young, while Cricket, a bouncy ball of energy and talent, seems born for soccer stardom. But the cost of achieving athletic greatness comes at a very steep price. As Mia and Cricket grow up, they must grapple with the legacy of their mother's secret past while navigating their own precarious future. Can Mia allow herself to fall in love at the risk of repeating a terrible history? Will Cricket's relentless chase of a lifelong goal drive her sister away? And when does loyalty become self-sabotage? So there's spectacular things. Look at that. People go to the beach. The water looks really nice. Not here in the Northeast right now. Okay, this is a book that we heard the author present about last week, Culpability by Bruce Holsinger, and this just sounds terrific. Laura Dave had to say a wise, propulsive, and deeply powerful novel. It's coming on July 8th. When the Cassidy Shaw's autonomous minivan collides with an oncoming car, 17-year-old Charlie is in the driver's seat with his father, Noah, riding shotgun. In the back seat, tweens Alice and Izzy are on their phones, while their mother, Lorelei, a world leader in the field of artificial intelligence, is absorbed in her work. Yet each family member harbors a secret, implicating each of them in the accident. During a week-long recuperation on the Chesapeake Bay, the family confronts the excruciating moral dilemmas triggered by the crash. Noah tries to hold the family together at a seemingly routine police investigation that jeopardizes Charlie's future. Alice and Izzy turn strangely furtive, and Lorelei's odd behavior tugs at Noah's suspicions that there's a darker truth behind the incident, suspicions heightened by the sudden intrusion of Daniel Monet, a tech mogul whose mysterious history with Lorelei hints at betrayal. They were going on and on and on about this book, and it's definitely going to be sparking a lot of conversation, especially with the talk about AI that goes into it, and what happens when a car does drive itself, who does the risk. And they say that the way that this book builds and the way that the story builds, every party is guilty at some point. Next, we've got Finding Grace from Loretta Rothschild, and this is on sale on July 8th. And summer reading in the bottom left-hand corner means this is one of our summer reading book giveaways. The contests go up, and they're up for just 24 hours. We have a special newsletter we send out about those, and you have a chance to win one of 5 books. So if you see that in the bottom, just know the contest will probably be happening on July 8th, so mark your calendar. Honor seems to have everything. She adores her bright and beautiful daughter, Chloe, and her charming husband, handsome husband, Tom, even though he works 100 hours a week. Yet Honor's longing for another baby threatens to eclipse all of it until a shocking event changes their lives forever. Years later, Tom makes a decision that ripples through their family's lives in ways he never could have foreseen. As consequences of that fateful choice unfold, 2 women's paths become irrevocably intertwined. But when old love clashes with new, who will be left standing? And what happens when your secrets come back to haunt you? So there we've got Finding Grace by Loretta Rothschild. So you've got The Homemade God by Rachel Joyce. It's coming on July 8th. There's a heat wave across Europe, and 4 siblings have gathered at their family's lake house to seek answers about their father, a famous artist who recently remarried a much younger woman and decamped to Italy to finish his long-awaited masterpiece. Now he's dead, and there's no sign of his final painting. To simply try to piece together what happened, they spend the summer in a state of lawlessness, living under the same roof for the first time in decades, forced to confront the buried wounds they incurred as his children and waiting for answers. Though they have been close, the things they learned that summer about themselves and their father will drive them apart before they can truly understand his legacy. And meanwhile, their stepmother's enigmatic presence looms over the house. So there we've got the homemade god. So we've got These Summer Storms by Sarah MacLean, which is coming on July 8th. Alice Storm has been welcome at her family's magnificent private island off the Rhode Island coast in 5 years, not since she was cast out and built her life beyond the Storm name, influence, and untold billions. But the shocking death of her larger-than-life father changes everything. Alice plans to keep her head down, pay her final respects, such as they are, and leave in the minute the funeral's over. And unfortunately, father has other plans. Eccentric, manipulative patriarch left his family a final challenge, an inheritance game designed to upend their world. The rules are clear. Spend 1 week on the island, complete their assigned tasks, and receive the inheritance. But a whole week on Storm Island is no easy task for Alice. It will be a miracle if she manages to escape unscathed. I think we've got like secret family things going through. We always joke that there's like one word that keeps coming up, and what's the word going to be? So here we've got Vera or Faith from Gary Steinhardt, and it's coming on July 8th. The Bradford Schmalkin family is falling apart. A very modern blend of Russian, Jewish, Korean, and New England WASP. They love each other deeply, but the pressures of life in an unstable America are fraying their bonds. There's Daddy, a struggling cash-thirsty editor whose Russian heritage gives him a surprising new currency in the upside-down world of 21st century geopolitics. His wife, Ann Mom, a progressive, underfunded blue blood from Boston who's barely holding the household together. Their son, Dylan, whose blonde hair and Mayflower lineage provides him a pride of place in the newly forming American political order. And above all, young Vera, half Jewish, half Korean, and wholly original. Vera wants only 3 things in life: to make a friend at school, Daddy and Annie Mom to stay together, and to meet her birth mother, Mom, who will at last tell Vera the secret of who she really is and how to ensure love's survival in this great, mad, imploding world. So see what happens to her on July 8th. Next, we've got The View from Lake Cuomo coming from Adriana Trigiani, and it's coming on July 8th. Okay, let me see how my Italian heritage can do here. Jess Capodimonte, pretty good. Barada is not living the life of her dreams. It's not even close. In blue-collar Lake Cuomo, New Jersey, family comes first. Recently divorced from Bobby Bilancia, Jess moves into her parents' basement to hide and heal. Jess is the overlooked daughter who dutifully takes care of her parents, cooks Sunday dinner, and puts herself last. Despite her role as a family handmaiden, she is also a talented draftswoman in the marble business run by her dapper Uncle Louie, who believes she can do anything once she invests in a better wardrobe. When the families endure an unexpected loss, the shock unearths long-buried secrets that will force Jess to question her loyalty to those she trusted. Fueled by her long-lost dreams, Jess takes fate into her own hands and escapes to her ancestral home of Carrara, Italy. So there you go. Just remember, my last name was Sassetti, and I really still can't do the Italian words. I'm really not good. And Taylor Jenkins-Reid says about this one, Adriana never fails to sweep you away. And I hear that the sections in Lake Cuomo are just really quite amazing. Next, we've got Greenwich from Cape Broad, which is coming on July 22nd. It's summer 1999. Rachel Fisk is almost 18 when she arrives at her aunt and uncle's mansion in Greenwich, Connecticut. Her glamorous aunt is struggling to heal from an injury, and Rachel wants to help and escape her own troubles back home. But her aunt is oddly spacey, and her uncle is consumed with business. Rachel feels lonely and adrift, excluded from the world of adults and their secrets. The only bright spot is Claudia, a recent college graduate, an aspiring artist, and the live-in babysitter for Rachel's cousin. As the summer deepens, Rachel eagerly hopes their friendship might grow into more. When a tragic accident occurs, Rachel must make a pivotal choice. Caught between her desire to do the right thing and to protect her future, she's the only one who knows what really happened, and her decision has consequences far beyond what she could have predicted. So there we've got Greenwich, and we have a dripping, notice the dripping. We have to study things on the cover that black blood looks like coming down. Next, we've got That Last Carolina Summer by Karen White, another summer reading choice, everybody. As a child, Phoebe Manigault developed a gift of premonition after she was struck by lightning in a creek near her Charleston home. Plagued throughout her life by mysterious dreams and always living in the shadow of her beautiful sister Addie, Phoebe eventually moves to the West Coast, as far as she can from her family as possible. And now, years later, she's summoned back to South Carolina to help Addie take care of their ailing mother. As Phoebe's return lures her back into deep-rooted tensions and conflicts, she's drawn towards Celeste, whose granddaughter went missing years ago. Their connection, woven through shared losses and hope, brings comfort to Phoebe, while Celeste's adult grandson, Liam, resurrects complicated emotions tied to Phoebe's past. The longer Phoebe spends in her childhood home, the more her recurring nightmares intensify, bringing her closer to the shocking truth that will be irrevocably change everything. Last Carolina Summer. Next, we've got A Dog in Georgia by Warren Grodstein. Amy Webb is a chef, or rather, she was a chef. Somewhere along the way, she also became a wife and a stepmother, an emergency contact, and the part of her that is chef disappeared entirely, along with her sense of self, which is why she is currently in the Republic of Georgia on a mission to find a lost dog named Angel, and more importantly, the life's purpose she once took for granted. For months, Amy has escaped by watching YouTube videos of Angel walking the children of Tbilisi to school. When Angel goes missing, Amy volunteers to go and find him. Who is Amy, after all, if she's not taking care of people? But to her surprise, Angel proves elusive. And while she does make friends with a number of stray dogs, what does she find there that is entirely human? Is she happy in her marriage? What happened to her career? And why doesn't she ever cook anymore, even just for herself? So there we've got A Dog in Georgia and what it's going to teach Amy. Next, we've got Full Bloom from Francesca Saratella, coming on August 5th. Reeling from a breakup and overlooked at her job as a lighting designer, Iris finds herself stuck, disconnected, and lonely in crowded New York City. Then a mysterious neighbor, an older Frenchwoman, makes her a gift, a bespoke perfume. One spritz, a dab behind the ears, and Iris feels like a different woman. And suddenly she's the object of every man's desire, and she can satisfy her own hungers for sex, love, and ambition. She can cast off her inhibitions and use her newfound allure to dazzle the high-profile client, attract a man who excites her like no other, and access all the rarefied spaces that once excluded her. Invigorated by the perfume, Iris embodies her maximum power, a flower fully bloomed. But there's danger in connecting to our primal emotions. Scent awakens buried memories, and nightmares of the childhood house fire that Iris barely survived return to haunt her. So I think that is absolutely a stunning cover. Francesca, you probably know, is the author of the New York Times bestselling author of Ghosts of Harvard, which was her debut novel. Next, we've got The Violet Hour by Victoria Benton Frank. And yes, she's the daughter of Dorothea Benton Frank. It's coming on August 12th. Violet Adams is the perfect youngest child in the family of loud, passionate women on Sullivan's Island, South Carolina. As a sweet, traditional one, she's always been the steady hand in her family. But after a sudden breakup and subsequent tragedy, she doesn't know who she is anymore. Allie Knox, Violet's best friend, is a young influencer still struggling with the loss of her mother and adjusting to joining young Violet in Southern living. With her best friend's help, Violet is determined to break out of her shell and who she thought she was, no matter what. And what better place to look for success, meaning, and possibly love in the low country of South Carolina? There we've got the Violet Hour, which Adriana said, Southern fiction has a fresh, fabulous voice. Next, we've got The New Me by Helen Ayami. It's coming on August 26th. Kinga is a woman who is just trying to make it through the week. There's Kinga for every day. On Mondays, you can catch Kinga A, deleting of food delivery apps. By Friday, Kinga E is happy to spend the days soaking wine drunk in the bath. Kinga's A to G, perhaps unsurprisingly, live a varied life. Between them is a professional matchmaker, a scent-crazed perfumer, and a window cleaner, all of them varying degrees of apathy, anger, introversion, and bossiness. At least three of them are team toxic. It's an arrangement that's not without its fair share of admin, grudges, and half-truths. But when Kinga A discovers a man tied up in their apartment, the Kingas have to reckon with the possibility that one of them might be planning to destroy them all. So there we've got a new me. Next, we've got Hot Desk from Laura Dickerman, and this is coming on September 2nd. In the post-pandemic publishing industry, two rival editors are forced to share a hot desk on different days of the week, much to their chagrin. Having never set eyes on each other, Rebecca Bloom and Ben Heath begin leaving passive-aggressive post-it notes on the pot of their shared cactus. But when revered literary legend Edward David Adams, known as the Lion, dies, leaving his estate up for grabs, their banter escalates as both work feverishly to land his career-making opportunity. As their battle for the estate gets more heated, Rebecca learns of a connection between her mother, Jane, and the Lion. The story travels back 4 decades earlier to when Jane arrives in Manhattan and meets Rose, soon her best friend. But one fateful day during the April blizzard of 1982, and that was true. There was an April blizzard in 1982, and I know because it was right after I got back from Colorado in 1982, the year I met my husband. So just a little aside there. Will change the course of Jane's life and their friendship forever. So there we've got Hot Desk. And anybody who's working on a hot desk right now, sharing with somebody else, knows that whatever's left behind becomes like, fair game. Next, let's do some historical fiction. And we're going to start out with the original by Nell Stevens, which is coming on July 1st. A self-possessed and secretive young woman, Grace has developed unusual predilections for painting, particularly forgery, for deception, for other girls. As Grace cultivates her talent as a copyist, she realizes that her uncanny ability to recreate paintings might offer her a means of escape. Secretly, she puts this skill to use as an art forger, creating fake masterpieces in candlelit corners of her uncle's decaying Oxfordshire estate. Saving the money she makes from her sales, she plans a new life far from the family that has never seemed to want her. Then her letter arrives from the South Atlantic. The writer claims to be her cousin Charles, long presumed dead at sea, who wishes to reconnect with his family. When Charles returns, Grace's aunt welcomes him with open arms, yet fractures appear in the household. Some believe he is who he says he is, others are convinced he's an imposter. As a court date looms to determine his legitimacy and his claim to the family fortune, Grace must decide what she believes and what she's willing to risk. There we've got the original. Next, we've got Our Last Vineyard Summer by Brooke Lee Foster, coming on July 1st. After suffering for her first year of graduate school at Columbia following her senator father's death, Betsy Whiting is hoping to spend the summer with her boyfriend and hopefully end the summer as his fiancée. Instead, her mother, a longtime feminist and leader of the women's movement, calls Betsy and her sisters back home to Martha's Vineyard, announcing that they need to sell their beloved summer house to pay off their father's debts. When Betsy arrives on the island a week later, she must reckon with her strained familial relationships, a long ago forbidden romance, and complicated legacy of her parents, who divided the family even as they did good for the world. Next, Typewriter Beach from Meg Wade Clayton, also on July 1st. 1957, Isabel Gioia is 10 months into a standard 7-year studio contract when she auditions with Alfred Hitchcock. Just weeks later, she's sequestered by the studio's fixer in a tiny Carmel cottage, waiting and dreading. Meanwhile, next door, Leon Chazan is annoyed when Iz interrupts his work on yet another screenplay he won't be able to sell because he's blacklisted. And soon they're together in his roadster, speeding down the fog-shrouded Big Sur coast. 2018, 26-year-old screenwriter Gemma Chazan, in Carmel to sell her grandfather's cottage, finds a hidden safe full of secrets, raising questions about who the screenwriter known simply as Chazan really was and if she can live up to his name. and Wayward Girls by Susan Wiggs coming on July 15th. 1968, we meet six teens combined at the Good Shepherd, a dark and secretive institution controlled by Sisters of Charity nuns, locked away for merely being gay, pregnant, or simply unruly. They include Maureen, a free-spirited daughter of Irish immigrants, committed to keep her secret safe from her stepfather. Angela, who was denounced for her attraction to girls and was sent to the nuns for reform, but instead found herself the victim of a predator. Helen, the daughter of intellectuals detained in communist China, who saw her temporary stay at the Good Shepherd stretch into years. Odessa, who was caught up in a police dragnet even over a racial incident, but she found the physical and mental toughness to endure her sentence. Denise was sentenced for brawling in a foster home and dared to dream of a better life. And Janice, who couldn't decide where her loyalties lie, except when it came to her friend Kay, who would never outgrow her childlike dependency. So there we have the Wayward Girls. From Beatrice William, we've got Under the Stars. Audrey Fisher has struggled her whole life to emerge from the shadow of her famous mother by forging a career as a world-class chef. Meredith Fisher's glamorous screen persona disguises the trauma of the tragic accident that haunts her dreams. Neither woman wants to return to the New England island they left behind and its complicated emotional ties. But Meredith has one last chance to sober up and salvage her big comeback. And where else but discreet, moneyed Winthrop Island, and those who have read her books before know Winthrop Island, can a famous actress spend the summer without the intrusion of other people? Until Audrey discovers an old wooden chest among the belongings of her strange bartender father, Mike Kennedy. The astonishing contents draw the women deep into Winthrop's past and its many secrets, attracting the interest of their handsome neighbor, Sedge Peabody. How did a trove of paintings from one of America's greatest artists wind up in the cellar of the Mohegan Inn? And who is the mysterious woman portrayed on every canvas? So there we've got Under the Stars. And she is the New York Times bestselling author of Husbands and Lovers. She was our recent Bookaccino Live book group guest. Next, we've got the Harvey Girls from Juliet Fay, which is coming on August 12th. Charlotte Crowninshield was born into one of the finest Boston society families, and now she's on the run from a brutal husband. Billy McTavish is the oldest of 9 children born to Scottish immigrants in Nebraska. She quit school in the 6th grade to help with her mother's washing and mending business, but even that isn't enough to keep the family afloat. Desperate, both women join the ranks of the Harvey Girls, waitresses who serve in America's first hospitality chain on the Santa Fe Railroad. Hired on the same day, they share 3 things: a room, a heartfelt dislike for each other, and each has a secret that will certainly get them fired. Through 12-hour days of training in Topeka, Kansas, they learn the fine art of service. But when they're sent to work at the luxurious El Tovar Hotel in the Grand Canyon, Billy struggles to hide her young age from the would-be suitors, and Charlotte discovers the little-known dark side of the national park's history. There we've got the Harvey Girls. Next, we've got The Lost Baker of Vienna by Sharon Kurtzman. This book is definitely going to be a Book Reporter Bets On selection. I read it months ago and really love it. For those of you who don't know, Bets On titles are the titles that I've sort of just said, these are books that I really, really love and you're going to want to read. And sometimes it's a story that I don't know very much about, which is happening with this book. In 2018, Zoe Rosenweig was reeling after the loss of her beloved grandfather, a Holocaust survivor. She becomes obsessed with finding out what really happened to her family during the war. In Vienna in 1946, Chana Rosenweig has endured the horrors of war to find herself, her mother, and her younger brother finally free in Vienna. But freedom doesn't look like they imagined it would as they struggle to make a living and stay safe. Despite the danger, Chana sneaks out most nights to return to the hotel kitchen where she works as a dishwasher, using the quiet nighttime hours to bake her late father's recipes. Soon, she finds herself caught in a dangerous love triangle, torn between the black market dealer who is offered marriage and protection and the apprentice baker who shares her passions. And how will Chana balance her love of baking against her family's need for security? One of the things I learned in this book that I didn't know is, the war ends. Okay, it's not all, kumbaya the next day. I didn't realize Vienna was actually divided into four different areas that were governed by four different countries. And as a result, moving from one area to the other was very, very difficult. So, like, we have a lot of books about World War II, but this is very interesting to see what happens after the war, and also the mental anguish that happens with a family afterwards. And it's when the darkness comes, you start looking for the light. But how do you look for the light after you've been in darkness for so long? It's extremely well done. It's her first novel, too. So we've got Amity by Nathan Harris. It's coming on September 2nd. The Civil War might be over, but formerly enslaved Coleman and June have yet to find the freedom they've been promised. 2 years ago, the siblings were separated when their old master, Mr. Harper, took June away to Mexico, where he hoped to escape the new reality of post-Baldwin South. Coleman stayed behind in Louisiana to serve the Harper family, clinging to hope that one day June would return. An unexpected letter from Mr. Harper arrives, summoning Coleman to Mexico. Coleman thinks that finally his prayers have been answered. What Coleman cannot know is that the tangled truth of June's tribulations under Mr. Harper on the frontier. And when disaster strikes Coleman's journey, he's forced on the run with Mr. Harper's daughter, Florence. Together they venture into the Mexican desert to find June, all the while evading two crooked brothers who will stop at nothing to capture Coleman and Florence and the money that they're owed. Next, we've got Buckeye, Patrick Ryan, coming on September 2nd. And this afternoon, I was at a lunch at Random House, and Patrick was one of the guests. And this is his first novel. He's in his 60s. He's always written short stories. And this is the first time he said, this is like, something I'd really like to try. And I believe he said it took him 7 years to write the book. Anna Napolitano says, I love this book with all my entire heart. In Bonhomie, Ohio, a stolen moment of passion sparked in the exuberant aftermath of the Allied victory in Europe binds Carl Jenkins, a man wounded not in war, but by his inability to serve in it, to Margaret Salt, a woman trying to obscure her past. Cal's wife, Becky, has a spiritual gift. She's a seer who can conjure the dead, helping families connect with those they've lost. Margaret's husband, Felix, is serving on a Navy cargo ship out of harm's way until a telegram suggests the unthinkable might have happened. Later, as the country reconstructs in its post-war boom, a secret grows in the town, but nothing stays buried forever in this small town. Against the backdrop of some of the most transformative decades of modern America, the consequences of that long ago encounter ripple through the next generations of both families, compelling them to re-examine who they thought they were and what the future might hold. And it's really interesting. This book takes place over all these decades of time. So we get to see where these people move and what happens to them. Ann Patchett has said a glorious sweep of a novel. So they're two big praise ideas. And it's interesting because when I was talking this afternoon, I said, are you going to return to writing short stories? And he said, no, again. He said, I would much rather sit down and write a novel than just write short stories. So it was really interesting that later in this man's career, he's embraced a whole different format to be writing. Next, we've got Whatever Happened to Laura Lovely, and it's coming from Sarah McCoy on September 2nd. In 1969, 23-year-old starlet Laura Lovely, the apple of Hollywood's eye, shocked the world by ditching a promising film career to take the vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience as a Benedictine nun. Gossip columnists and scandal sheets can't get enough of the story. Why would such a beautiful girl take the veil? Was she hiding from someone? Did it have anything to do with the tragic death of her co-star, heartthrob singer Lucas Wesley? In 1990, Lou Tibbett is under the gun to complete her senior thesis in modern American history. Instead of spending weeks in the dusty archives, she decides to dig into a true 20th century mystery and write about her Aunt Laurie, now the mother abbess at a cloistered convent in rural New England. Mother Worry has refused all requests for interviews until Lou arrives at the Abbey with a tape recorder in hand. To her delight, Mother Worry announces she's finally ready to talk, but only if Lou is really ready to listen. And I've got Chris Bajalian saying, a delightful tale of a golden age of Hollywood, part mystery, part history. It's always a joy. So there you go. Next, let's go to some thrillers and mysteries. We know they're favorites of our group. And we've got from Lisa Juwel, Don't Let Him In, coming on June 24th. Nick Radcliffe is a man of substance and good taste. He is just what Nina Swan needed in her life after her husband's unexpected death. But to Nina's adult daughter, Ash, Nick seems too good to be true. Without telling her mother, Ash begins digging into Nick's past, which she finds is more than unsettling. Martha is a florist living in a neighboring town with her infant daughter and her devoted husband, Alastair. But lately, Alastair has been traveling more and more frequently for work, disappearing for days at a time. When Martha questions him about his frequent absences, he always has a legitimate explanation. But Martha can't shake the feeling that something isn't right. Nina, Martha, and Ash are on a collision course with a shocking truth that is far darker than anyone could have imagined. So here we go. Don't let him in. Next, we've got El Dorado Drive from Megan Abbott. I just interviewed her about this book. It's not coming out till June 24th. Our interview is actually going to run on the beginning of July. Our interview, rather, is going to run about the beginning of July. Just because we're holding it back, we're going to do the review, and then we're off for a week, the week of 4th of July, to give us time, actually me, time to stand at the pool and read. Tom Donati, our editorial director, time to breathe, and then we'll come back. So such fun talking to her yesterday about this book. Three Bishop sisters grew up in privilege in the moneyed suburbs of Detroit. But as the auto industry declined, so did their fortunes. Harper, the youngest, is barely making ends meet when her beloved, charismatic sister Pam, currently in the middle of a contentious battle with her ex-husband, and her eldest sister Deborah approach her about joining an exciting new club. The Wheel offers women like themselves, middle-aged and of declining means, a new way to make their money, independent of husbands or families. And quickly, however, the Wheel's success and their addiction to it leads to greater and greater risks and a crime so shocking that it threatens to bring everything down with it. Now, I will tell you that the way that Megan spins a tale, I wasn't sure who was going to be the person who had done this murder. Like, I couldn't figure out what's going on because she twisted this in so many different directions. Harlan Coben said, tense, chilling, and beautifully written, El Dorado Drive is a complete knockout. So an El Dorado Drive, if you remember the El Dorado Cadillac, it was the high-end Cadillac. And we were talking yesterday about the big, boat cars. And Megan actually was born in Michigan. She grew up in Grosse Pointe. So we had lots of fun conversation about what it was like to live in the suburbs of auto country before everything fell apart, like the recession of 2007 and 8. And this is after then, when these women are all trying to stay above ground, above the water, and they're all kind of sinking because money isn't the way it was. And so we've got Glass Girls by Danish Kuki and Chikui, and this is coming on June 24th. Alice thought she could escape the curse. For 16 years, she's lived far from her family and ghosts she used to conjure. Her guest isn't easily left behind. When Alice discovers she's pregnant and her estranged sister Bronwyn turns up on her doorstep, her carefully built new life begins to unravel. Bronwyn offers her an ultimatum. One of her daughters is trying to possess the other, and only Alice has the power to save them. If Alice refuses, Bronwyn will go to their abusive mother and expose her location. Forced to confront the terrors of her childhood, Alice returns home to face the inheritance of her family curse. So there you go. Look at that cover that has that mirrored image going on. Next, we've got Fast Boys and Pretty Girls by Lo Patrick. It's coming on July 8th. Following a semi-successful career as a teen model in New York City, Danielle Greer has moved back to the mountains of North Georgia and is living in her childhood home with her husband and 4 daughters. One stifling lazy afternoon, the girls are exploring the ravine behind the house when they come across a body. Danielle knows the body doesn't belong to Benji Waugh, the young local misfit who she had an illicit relationship with as a teenager. No, his body was found after he was killed in a motorcycle accident on the road in front of her family's house. Danielle has a good idea who the body might be, but she doesn't know how it got there. When local police officer Caddy Benson is called in to investigate, Danielle's world is turned upside down, and she's thrust back into those dark, confusing days leading up to Benji's death. So there you got fast boys and pretty girls and old lowrider cars. So we've got our last resort, which is coming from Clemens Michelin. I'm probably not really good at some of these names. I am sorry, folks, but I'm trying. It's coming on July 8th. Frida and Gabrielle arrive seeking a fresh start at the stunning Ara Hotel in the secluded desert of Escalante, Utah. They've grown apart in recent years after sudden, unspeakable tragedy, and now at the Luxe Resort, they're ready to reconnect between dips in the pool and hikes on spectacular desert trails. It all feels like paradise until the dead body of a beautiful young woman who was vacationing at the Ara with her powerful, much older husband is discovered. Local police arrive and suspicion quickly falls on Gabrielle. Frida is forced to, Gabriel, I'm sorry. Frida is forced to revisit memories from their upbringing in a cloistered cult in upstate New York, their dramatic escape and scandal that followed. Frida's belief in Gabriel's innocence never wavered at the time, but now even she can't ignore the evidence mounting against him. So there we go. Next from Ruth Ware. Remember the woman in cabin 10? Well, now we got the woman in suite 11 by Ruth Ware coming on July 8th. When the invitation to attend the press opening of a luxury Swiss hotel owned by reclusive billionaire Marcus Liedman arrives, it's like the answer to a prayer. 3 years after the birth of her youngest child, Lo Blacklock is ready to reestablish her journalism career. The chateau on the shores of Lake Geneva is everything Lo has ever dreamed of, and she hopes she can snag an interview with Marcus. Unfortunately, he proves to be even more difficult to pin down than his reputation suggests. When Lo gets a late-night call asking her to come to Marcus's hotel room, she agrees despite her own misgivings. She's greeted, however, by a woman claiming to be Marcus's mistress and in life or death jeopardy. What follows is a thrilling cat-and-mouse pursuit across Europe, forcing Lo to ask herself just how much she's willing to sacrifice to save this woman and if she can even trust her. There's the woman in Suite 11. From Daniel Silva, we've got an inside job coming on July 15th. We all know Gabriel Lone, and he has been awarded a commission to restore one of the most important paintings in Venice. But when he discovers the body of a mysterious woman floating in the waters of the Venetian lagoon, he finds himself in a desperate race to recover a lost masterpiece by Leonardo da Vinci. The painting, a portrait of a beautiful girl, has been gathering dust in a storeroom at the Vatican Museums for more than a century, misattributed and hidden beneath a worthless picture by an unknown artist. Because no one knows that Leonardo is there, no one notices when it disappears one night during a suspicious power outage. No one but the ruthless mobsters and moneymen behind the theft, and the mysterious woman whom Gabriel found in the watery grave in Venice. A woman without a name, a woman without a face. So there's an inside job. Next, we've got The Lake Escape from Jamie Day. He's the best-selling author of The Block Party. Will it be the best week of their lives or the last? Coming July 16th. Julia, Deva, and Erica grew up together, spending summers at their idyllic Vermont lake homes for as long as they can remember. And now adults, the three friends have amassed secrets over the years. This summer, David is eager to show off his newly renovated home, which now blocks his friend's cherished lake views and his much younger girlfriend. He also unwittingly brings a nanny with a hidden agenda. When David's girlfriend mysteriously vanishes after a shouting match, Julia and Erica wonder just how well they know their lifelong friend. The lake harbors a harrowing past. Two young women with no known connection vanished without a trace 30 years ago. Did the lake take another? The search is mounted, an intricate web of lies, deceits, and betrayals spanning generations starts to surface, and everyone finds themselves in danger of becoming the next victim. Next, from Lisa Scottolini, we've got The Unraveling of Julia, which is coming on July 15th. Julia Pritzker has lost her adoptive parents, and her husband has been murdered. When she realized that her horoscope essentially foretold his death, she begins to spiral. Then a letter arrives out of the blue, informing her that she's inherited a Tuscan villa and vineyard, but her benefactor is a total stranger named Amelia Rossi. Julie has no information about her biological family, so she wonders if Rossi could be a blood relative. Bewildered, she heads to Tuscany for answers. And there, Julia is horrified to discover that Rossi was a paranoid recluse with delusions of grandeur, who believed herself to be a descendant of Duchess Katharina Sforza, the legendary Renaissance ruler. Julia is stunned by her uncanny resemblance to Rossi and even to Katharina. And then she unearths eerie parallels between them, including an obsession with astrology. Before long, Julia suspects she's being followed, and strange things begin to happen. And when events turn deadly, she breaks with reality. And what you want to know is that Lisa really did go to this part of the country, to Tuscany, to research this book. And as she said, she did it for all of us, the readers, to make sure that everything was very truthful. And we just love what Lisa has done for us by going to Tuscany to make sure we got an authentic story. This is a psychological thriller. Next, from Steve Berry, we've got The List, which is coming on July 22nd. It's a different book. It's one out of his usual series. After a 10-year self-imposed exile, Brent Walker is returning home to Concord, a quaint time in central Georgia, nestled close to the Savannah River. 2 years ago, his father died, and now Brent, hired by the Southern Republic Pulp and Paper Company as its assistant general counsel, is returning to care for his ailing mother. Southern Republic's success is based largely on a highly unorthodox and deadly system to control costs, known only to the three owners of the company. Now, one of them, Christopher Bosen, has a change of heart. Brent's return to Concord, a move Bosen personally orchestrated, provides his conscience with a chance at redemption. So a plan is set in motion, one that will not only criminally implicate Bosen's two partners, but also place Brent square in the crosshairs of men who want him dead, with only one course left available. So there you've got The List from Steve Berry. From Sherry LaPena, we've got She Didn't See It Coming. This is what I say about Sherry's books. I call her my one-sit reads. Once I start reading one of her books, I can't put it down. So I will usually get into the pool early in the morning and start reading, and nothing happens until I'm finished with the book, because she writes these compulsive stories that at the end of the chapter, you've got to read the next one. You've got to get to the next one. So Bryden and Sam have it all: thriving careers, a small apartment in a luxury condominium, supportive friends, and a cherished daughter. And then Sam receives a call at his office. Bryden, who was working from home that day, has failed to collect their daughter from daycare. Arriving home with their little girl, he finds his wife's car in the underground garage. Upstairs in their apartment, her laptop is still open on the table, her cell phone nearby, her keys in their usual place in the hall. So Bryden is nowhere to be seen. It's as if she just walked out. How can she have disappeared from her own home? Did she even leave the building at all? And that is what Sherry sets up for you. As Lucy Foley says, it's stunning with whiplash twists and turns. And that's exactly what Sherry does in all of her books. Next, we've got You Belong Here by Megan Miranda, coming on July 29th. Beckett Bowery never thought she'd return to Wyatt Valley, a picturesque college town in the Virginia mountains steeped in tradition. Her roots there were strong. Beckett's parents taught at the college, and she never imagined studying anywhere else until a tragedy her senior year ended with two local men dead and a roommate on the run, never to be seen again. For the last 2 decades, Beckett has done her best to keep her distance. And then her daughter, Delilah, secretly applies to Wyatt College and earns a full scholarship. And Beckett can only hope that her lingering fears are unfounded. But deep down, she knows that Wyatt Valley has a long memory and that the past isn't the only dangerous thing in town. Now, what's really interesting is Megan's daughter was off to college, and I said, and this is what you thought about when she went away to school? It's like, what could have happened in the town? It just shows where authors' imaginations go. I also think, Tom, that our thing about everybody going back to the town could have been our theme tonight. We always joke when we do these presentations that certain recurring themes come up. And we want to question the readers at the end of how many books tied it together or something like that, because there's certain phrases that come up and certain words. And one time when we do this, we're going to put that kind of a game in this as well. Next, from J.T. Ellison, we've got Last Scene coming on August 1st. Hallie James knows her marriage is over, but she's not prepared for the rest of her life to fall apart, too. She just lost her job at the forensic lab. Her dad needs emergency surgery, but the biggest blow comes back home in Marchburg, Virginia, where she discovers her mother didn't actually die in a car crash. Her mother was murdered, and her father lied about it all these years. Desperate for the truth, Hallie chases down a lead in Brockville, Tennessee. But all there is not as it seems. That's another big thriller phrase, everybody. All is not as it seems. Brockville's utopian charm hides a chilling darkness, and Hallie's search for answers threatens to expose an unspeakable reality. So there we've got Last Scene. Sarah Pekkanen, we've got The Locked Ward coming on August 5th. It's crime of the decade when glamorous Georgia Cartwright, who was adopted as a newborn, is accused of killing the biological daughter of her wealthy Southern family. Georgia's locked in a psychiatric institution where the most violent offenders are held while she awaits trial. The only words she whispers when her estranged twin sister Amanda visits are, "I didn't do it. You've got to get me out of here." Amanda doesn't trust Georgia, but she can't abandon her in a place so eerie and menacing that seems to exist in another dimension. Is Georgia the victim of a powerful family that's so depraved that murder is the least of their crimes? Or is Amanda being led down a path of madness into the web of a master manipulator? Oh, which one is it? Sarah Pekkanen in The Locked Ward. Lisa Gardner's got Kiss Her Goodbye coming on August 12th. Recent Afghan refugee Sabera Hamadi was last seen exiting her place of work 3 weeks ago. The local police have yet to open a case, while her older, domineering husband seems unconcerned. Sabira's close friend, however, is convinced Sabira would never willingly leave her 3-year-old daughter. At her insistence, missing persons expert Frankie Elkin agrees to take up the search through the broiling streets of Tucson, just in time for a video of the young mother to surface, showing her walking away from the scene of a brutal double murder. Frankie quickly realizes there's much more to the Amity family than meets the eye. The father's side is a brilliant mathematician. Sabira is a gifted linguist. And the little girl, Zahra, has an uncanny ability to remember anything she sees. When Assad often disappears under mysterious circumstances, and an attempt is made on Zahra's life, Frankie realizes that she quickly must crack the code of this family's horrific past. Now, just a little note here. A couple of years ago, I interviewed Lisa, and Frankie Elkin was going to be a standalone book. And here we are. I think this is book 3 or 4. So just shows that sometimes the series characters just stay with you. Now we've got We Are All Guilty Here by Karen Slaughter on sale on August 12th. Welcome to North Falls, a small town where everyone knows everyone, or so they think, until the night of the fireworks, when 2 teenage girls vanish and the town ignites. For Officer Emmy Clifton, it's personal. She turned away when her best friend daughter needed help, and now she must bring her home. But as Emmy combs through the puzzle the girls left behind, she realizes she never really knew them. Nobody did. Every teenage girl has secrets, but who would kill for them? And what else is the town hiding? Lots of towns hiding secrets. Next, we've got The Breakin by Catherine Faulkner. I really enjoyed her book with Greenwich Park. This is coming on August 26th. Alice, a professional mother of one, is hosting a playdate with friends at her upscale London home when a disturbed man breaks in. With her child in the next room, Alice panics and kills him, an act later ruled to have been in self-defense. Everyone tries to encourage Alice to move on with her life, but with strange comments appearing online, a mysterious phone call telling her all is not as it seems, that big phrase, everybody, and her husband, nanny, and friends behaving strangely, Alice finds herself drawn to the mystery of who her intruder really was. She digs deeper. She discovers a trail of dark secrets that spiral closer to home than she ever could have imagined. So there's the break-in. From Christina Baker Klein and Ann Burt, we've got Please Don't Lie. It's the first time these two are writing together. Their first time they're writing a thriller together. 2 years ago, Haley Stone lost everything. First, her parents die in a devastating fire. Then her sister overdosed, leaving Haley alone and hounded by a media circus that turns her family's tragedy into tabloid fodder. When her new husband suggests a fresh start in the Adirondacks, the promise of anonymity in an isolated mountain town feels like salvation. The mountains hold darker secrets than she ever imagined. Her once loving husband grows distant and volatile. The widow down the road keeps spewing vague accusations. And even their new friends, a free-spirited couple living on the property, can help, not even these free-spirited friends can help Haley shake the creeping sense that something is off. Winter draws closer. Hallie discovers that her sanctuary is anything but safe. Trapped and isolated, she faces a terrifying truth. And trying to escape her past, she may have run straight into something far more dangerous. So there we go. Please don't lie. From William Kent Kruger, we know he's a huge favorite of our readers. We've got the latest in his Cork O'Connor series coming on September 2nd. Few nights before Halloween, as Cork O'Connor gloomily ruminates on his upcoming birthday, receives a call from his son, Stephen, who's working for a nonprofit dedicated to securing freedom for unjustly incarcerated inmates. Stephen tells his father that decades ago, as the newly elected sheriff of Tamarack County, Cork was responsible for sending a Juwel man named Axel Boshi to prison for a brutal murder that Stephen is certain he did not commit. Cork feels compelled to reinvestigate the crime, but that's easier than said than done. Not only is it a closed case, but Axel is inexplicably refusing to help. The deeper Cork digs, the clearer it becomes that there are those in Tamarack County who are willing once again to commit murder to keep him from finding out the truth. So there we've got Apostles Cove. Let's do some memoirs, biographies, and other nonfiction. We're going to kick off with It's Only Drowning by David Litt. Sounds like such fun. It's coming on June 24th. David, the Yale-educated writer with a fear of sharks, and Matt, the daredevil electrician with a shed full of surfboards, had never been close. But America's crises piled up, and David spiraled into existential dread. He noticed that his brother-in-law was thriving, began to suspect Matt's favorite hobby had something to do with it. David started taking surf lessons. For months, he wiped out on the waves, the height of daffodils. Yet, after realizing that surfing could change him both in and out of the water, he set an audacious goal, riding a big wave in Hawaii. He searched for an expert he could trust to guide and protect him. When he couldn't find one, he asked Matt, and together they set out on a journey that spanned coasts and either continents before taking them to Oahu's famously dangerous North Shore. So there you go. It's Only Drowning. Next, we've got A Flower Traveled in My Blood, the incredible true story of the grandmothers who fought to find a stolen generation of children, coming from Hallie Colin Gilliland on July 15th. In the early hours of March 24th, 1976, the streets of Buenos Aires rumble with tanks as soldiers seize the presidential palace and topple Argentina's leader. The country is now under the controls of a military junta with the army chief Jorge Rafael Videla at the helm. Junta swiftly launches the national reorganization process, a bland name masking their ruthless campaign to crush the political left and instill the country with Western Christian values. Junta holds power until 1983 and decimates a generation. One of the military's most diabolical acts is kidnapping hundreds of pregnant women. After giving birth in captivity, the women are disappeared, and their babies are secretly given to other families, many of them headed by police or military officers. For mothers of pregnant daughters and daughters-in-law, the source of their grief is twofold: the disappearance of their children and the theft of their grandchildren. A group of fierce grandmothers forms the Abuelas de Plaza de Mayo, dedicated to finding the stolen infants and seeking justice from a nation that betrayed them. And what I love is no matter how much we learn during our time of reading, there's always another story to be uncovered, something like this. Next, we've got Backstage, Stories of a Writing Life, coming from Donna Leone on August 26th. In her new memoir, Wandering Through Life, gave her legions of fans a colorful tour. Her last memoir, Wandering Through Life, gave her legions of fans a colorful tour through her life, from her childhood in New Jersey to her adventures in China and Iran, and her love of Venice and opera. And nowhere did she discuss her writing life. And Backstage, Donna reveals her admiration for and inspiration from the great crime novelists Ruth Rendell and Ross MacDonald, examining their approach to storytelling as she dissects her favorite books of theirs. She expresses her love for Charles Dickens' Great Expectations and her appreciation for Sir Walter Scott's generosity of spirit. And she chronicles the amount of research she undertakes to be able to present authentically through Guido Brunetti and his colleagues places and characters far from her own experience. So there's Backstage by Donna Leone. Then we've got Children of the Book coming from Alana Kirshen, and this is coming on August 26th. Alana, a mother of 5 living in Jerusalem, struggles to balance her passion for books with her responsibilities of a parent. And gradually she learns how to relate to reading not as a solitary pursuit and escape from the messiness of life, but rather a way of forging connections and teaching independence. Introducing her children to sacred and secular literature, including the beloved classics of her childhood, she becomes both a better mother and a more compassionate reader. Chief among the books that she reads with her children is the Torah, whose ancient wisdom illuminates her family's path. Structured in 5 parts corresponding to the 5 books of the Bible, Children of the Book traces the profound parallels between the biblical narrative and the daily rhythms of parenthood. Next, we've got The Improbable Victoria Woodhull, Suffrage, Free Love, and the First Woman to Run for President by Eden Collinsworth. Think about this, folks. In 1894, a remarkably self-possessed American woman with no formal education to speak of stood before a British court seeking damages for libel from the trustees of the British Museum. It was yet another stop along the unpredictable route as was Victoria Woodhull's life. Born dirt poor in an obscure Ohio settlement, Woodhull was the daughter of an illiterate mother entranced by the fad of mesmerism, a therapeutic pseudoscience, and a swindler father whose cons exploited his 2 daughters. It's through her mother, though, that Woodhull familiarized herself with the supernatural realm, earning a degree of fame as a clairvoyant and her first taste of financial success. Despite a deeply troubling first marriage at the age of 14, countless attempts by the press to discredit her, and a wrongful jail sentence, she thrived through sheer determination and strength of her bond with her sister Tenny. She co-founded a successful stock brokerage on Wall Street, launched a newspaper, and became the first woman to run for president. And that is a story I did not know. Now, I've got one book of poetry for you, and it's for a reason. This book is What the Deep Water Knows. It's by Miranda Cowley Heller, and many of you may remember her as the #1 New York Times bestselling author of The Paper Palace. It's coming on July 1st. And I bring this book up because she was writing this book at the same time she was writing The Paper Palace. When I've interviewed her twice, she talked to me about how much she loved poetry. So if I could fly backward, I would, to the safety of branches, to the time when my heart still raced for you, 1,200 beats a minute. And poetry that is once bold and lyrical, affecting and devastatingly frank, Miranda Cowley Heller takes us through childhood, marriage, motherhood, and beyond, suffused with the natural world and the landscape of Cape Cod, where many of the poems are set. With the deep water nose contemplates love in all the seasons. And anybody who read The Paper Palace knows what I'm talking about when I say these poems were definitely something that infused that book as well. So we talk about bets on selections, and my bets on selections, I've made 18 so far. I've got 5 more coming up. 18 and 5 is 23. I will be picking more between now and the end of the year. At the end of the year, somebody is going to win all of my bets on selections. Others are going to be some of my bets on selections. And we always have fun because I never pick a number of this is how many selections I'm going to pick throughout the year. It just books that moved me, books that I think are going to translate to you. Some of these are big books. Some of them are books that you may not have heard of before. But in each one, I'm trying to tell you why I really enjoyed reading this book. So there we've got my bets ons. We also do a number of videos and podcasts, as many of you know. My most recent one is with Janine Cummins. It's Speak to Me of Home. Julia Clark, I interviewed her about The Ghostwriter, her New York Times bestseller. And I talked to Lori Foster, who we ran a contest with over the last couple of months about The Guest Cottage. Fun conversations with each of these authors with many more to come. I think we're up to about 225 or 230 at this point. Summer reading. This week, the book is Spirit Crossing by William Kent Kruger. If you jump on the Bookreporter right now, you have until noon tomorrow to enter the contest to win one of 5 copies from our summer reading contest. These are the books we're giving away all summer. Some have already been given away. Some are going to be given away as time goes on. But these are books that we were thinking, pull up on a beach blanket, pull up someplace and pull up your chair and just start reading these. Next, we've got our Book Reporter Word of Mouth Contest books. This is where you jump on and tell us what you're reading, and then you're entered to win both of these titles. I'm currently listening to Wally Lamb's book, The River is Waiting. It is absolutely astonishingly good. I'm listening to it and reading it and going back and forth. I had a long drive into the city today, and I was actually really happy because I could listen to the book at the same time. And it's really good because I've actually figured out what chapter I'm on. So tonight I can pick up reading the book as well. And S.A. Cosby, King of Ashes, I have always wanted to read his books, and I'm really happy we're giving this away. He's such a treasured writer, and it's somebody who I haven't read before, believe it or not, but I've got this on my shelf and I'm ready to get to it as well. Next week, next Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, Fiona Davis is going to be joining us to discuss The Stolen Queen, New York Times bestseller, and one of my bets on selections. If you have a question that you want to ask her on camera, like I am right now, you can do that and sign up and let us know. We give you instructions on what to do. I think the code word for that one is Fiona. Send me a email with Fiona in the subject line. Give me your question and tell me where you're from, your name, city, and state. If you want me to ask the question, or if you want to ask it on camera. Okay, so should be a fabulous conversation. Love this book, and it will make you want to go to the Met in New York. And she's got this fabulous what's it called? Clues. She's got clues to the different places at the Met. There's a word for this, but I'm losing my words tonight, that she's got on her website that you can actually try and find all the things that she talks about in the book that are exhibited at the museum. So I'm not making good words right now, but folks, it's been a while. And we've got another author. We usually don't do an event in July, but one of our readers wrote and said she went to an event and J. Courtney Sullivan was so terrific that she would love to have us, have her as one of our guests. And I was like, sounds good to me. I picked the Cliffs as a Book Reporter bets on selection, so I'm ready. It was a Reese pick last year. So she is going to be joining us on Wednesday, July 30th at 8 o'clock. Once again, sign up is available. All of our events are on tbrnetwork.com/events. If they're not on the site, that there's artwork that you could sign up for events. But we just did this new thing on tbrnetwork.com/events. You can always find the events that we're doing. Our next Bookaccino Live afternoon event is going to be on July 9th. And we will do books releasing from July 8th through August 5th and a peek ahead at September. And no, they won't be just the books that we've talked about tonight. There will be different books. We always try to keep everything different, and will be some titles will be the same, but we will be doing that. We do these evening events. We started doing them, I guess it was a couple of years ago, because we realized not everybody is free in the afternoon anymore, since people went back to the work after the pandemic. So here's to a great summer reading. Stay tuned for our fall preview event, which will be happening in September. And thanks to everybody for joining us. We really appreciate your taking the time this evening.